opposite day. Yeah, no, I couldn't not love Israel more. This whole thing is just, I mean, it's every day. Like, I feel weird. Like, every single day, it's more shit where you're just like, what the fuck? Israel today did this. Israel today did this. Did you know that Israel 24 hours ago did this? Did you know that Trump did this? Did you, like, it's insane how fast it all comes. How there's no lull. You know? You used to get stories like Watergate where, like, you know, it would build and build and they would just keep going back to it. Think about how many of those stories existed that we gave a shit about because they told, like OJ. We cared about OJ because they told us to care about OJ. It was so weird. But, like, look at what's, I don't know, it's like it's the system isn't, like, ignorant. You know, all the stuff that we truthers find and sift through and you know, pull up and share, the system knows about all that shit times a million. So, you know, if I know about it, if you know about it, you have to understand that it's because they've let us know about it. But they know about it too. They've known about it the whole time. High level secrets they know about. It's all the same shit. And I what was I looking at today? There was a couple of things that I was looking at. There was the October 10th, 2001 bombing of Mexico City that was tried to be blamed on the Muslims. Did you see that shit? That's fucking crazy. You know, they did another, you know, they tried to do a false flag, it just didn't work. And I'm going to look into that. I did want to look into that one more when I get home. That's just fucking ridiculous. Oh, Subtropolis. That was the other thing I wanted to talk about. Subtropolis. Who built it? Who owns it? I just don't even know anymore. Like, I don't know what, you know, this isn't just a thing where you're talking or I'm talking to the thing because despite, you know, popular belief, because I just want attention. It's not the case. You know, the point in this is to eventually lead to the changes necessary, the life that we all should be living. And so I'm not just sitting here talking to inform or whatever. This is an exercise in trying to figure it out, trying to figure out what makes all this shit work. You know, trying to figure out what keeps you Christians, what keeps you Muslims on the line when it's clear that it's all bullshit. You know, it's clear that it's bullshit. And yet, you know, you say you believe this stuff, but then you get upset anytime somebody doesn't agree with you or even asks you questions about it. It's not like it brings you joy to talk about it or explain your point of view. You get frustrated, you get upset. And I don't know, I just think it's all weird. You know, I wanna fix it. I know that there is no fixing the world we live in, you know, creating the narrative we should live under and where everybody's free and equal and happy and healthy and safe. There's no way that happens with Christianity still in place. Like, Christianity is just dumb as fuck. And I see these videos consistently with people spilling the tea about Israel, exposing, just lie after lie after lie, while they have their big cross dangling down on their neck. And I have an internal conflict about even sharing their shit, because I feel like I'm sharing Christian propaganda no matter which, no matter what, because that cross is dead center. It's moving, it's shiny. It's what the focus is, and I would hate for people to think I'm a Christian in any sort of capacity. And it's like I literally would like I would be very bothered, I would go out of my way to correct you if you assumed I was a Christian. Because it's all just so awful. It's so off-putting, and it's so scary and disgusting and mean and vile, and just all of the negative words are associated with Christianity. And I don't understand. Like, this is my biggest thing. If I can figure this piece out, if I can figure out how to get people to just, stop being such a douchebag and looking outward and look inward and look at the stuff that you like just as critically as you look at the stuff as Islam. I mean, you're seeing these fucking protests, these anti-Muslim protests are here in Detroit, are here in Dearborn. I'm literally driving through Dearborn right now. And to think that these fucking insanity protests are happening, and these guys are getting away with it. And I mean, I agree, free speech is free speech, and they should be allowed to say what they say. But I just don't understand them. And I would love to be able to sit and talk to them, but they would never talk to me. They if they did, it would come. They would want to loudly say their bit, and then as soon as I started asking questions or making them feel stupid, they would put on a show and rush out. Ouch. And you can't tell me I don't know that, because I've experienced that, 99% of the time on here, where you actually have an advantage. As the commenter, you have the advantage. You get to, unlimited time to come up with your response. You get to make sure it's worded properly and it's spelled correctly, hopefully. And you're not under the spotlight. People can't see your reaction. So if I say something that really fucks with you, they can't see you. Oh shit! They can't see your face react to it and whatnot. You have all of the advantage being the commenter in this scenario. And I've never had anybody, not even a little bit, it's really strange when you think about it. But I haven't had anybody even begin to make any sort of sensical argument. Every single person that's ever come through here and even attempted to argue, I can't say they did a good job or anything, but they might have attempted to argue. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing that they were so stupid. I don't know. It's weird. It's this weird little piece, and I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to gain some understanding and whatnot, and I just can't. I try to look at it from your perspective, but reality comes into play. And as soon as reality comes into play, it just shuts the whole thing down. Like I can't just have faith and forget what I know. You know, knowing that it's a Jewish hoax and that it's a fairy tale and Jesus was a Jew and all that. I don't know how to know that and still believe, you know, override that knowledge and say, oh, that means it's true. You know, it's just, it's weird. It's just fucking weird. You know, I don't believe I have as much difficulty, even close to as much difficulty explaining my side of it, explaining why I don't believe in this shit. What are you even ranting about half the time? You always lack sustenance. I lack sustenance? I lack food? Are you talking about substance or sustenance? Because sustenance is how you stay, you know, is food. How you sustain life is through sustenance. I think you're kind of showing how stupid you are, and you might not mean to, but you are. And again, pretending like what an easy cop-out, right? I can't argue against what you're saying. I'm not smart enough to put forth a reasonable argument. So I'm going to pretend like I don't understand you suddenly. Suddenly I don't speak no English. I'm just, what? Me mamu mamu babu babu babu. Bee 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 bee. Ba 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 ba. Man, what the fuck are you talking about? You can't understand? What are you even ranting about half the time? So let's say you don't understand what I'm ranting about half the time. What about the rest of the time? Do you understand it then? What about the other half of the time? Let's pretend like you understand the other half and you can make an argument against anything I'm saying. Any single thing. I would, you know, it's weird to be in this position where you're literally begging for argument, especially online, because it's social media. You know, social media is nothing but people thinking they're smarter than, and no, you're wrong because, no, you're wrong because. So where are all those people? It's really fucking weird. Well, really weird, other than, you know, you're just stupid and compensating. You know, who would do this? Who is so determined to make me look good that they're going to sacrifice their own integrity by making themselves look stupid? That's strange. That's a strange thing. I can't believe I mean that much to you. And of course, it's always, you know, it's either friars, but it's Christians. Christians are always so quick to get nasty, to not be very Christian-like as soon as you challenge their Christianity. Like if I say, I don't believe you're a very good Christian. First of all, I don't think you know what you're talking about. And secondly, I don't think you follow what it says. They're going to be like, what? Fuck you. You want to fight about it? And I'll be like, exactly. It's crazy. Why would anybody want to believe in something that doesn't inspire them, that doesn't fulfill them and make them, you know, give them that confidence that they can handle any. Yes, my thing is real because I believe, you know, this, it's easy, it's obvious. Look at this, look at this. How do you deny this and this and this? Instead, you get dumbasses like Anomaly talking about, I believe in God because of sunsets. Sunsets are so beautiful. The plastic bag floating in the wind is so beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's so beautiful. So stupid. Oh, man. Fucking crazy, man. You love Israel? That's disgusting. It would be, wouldn't it? No, I started this feed by saying it's opposite day. And I absolutely... You notice how there's all the question marks? Israel is the worst. It's literally... But, I have to correct myself in that Israel is just a construct. Israel doesn't actually exist. It's just some invisible lines that they tell us are there. Those are the borders. Inside these borders are Israel, but there's really nothing there. You would cross over the Israel border in some cases and not even notice. Israel is the distraction. Look at that. Just like Zionism. Zionism is the boogeyman. You're supposed to, you're not supposed to hate the cult altogether. No. Just hate this part of it. This part's called Zionism, and it's scary. Well, who makes up the Zionists? Oh, a bunch of Jays. You can't hate all the Jays, though. Lacking substance in views means that someone's opinions are shallow, superficial, and lack depth or logical reasoning. Yeah, substance would have been the right word. Sustenance wouldn't, you dumbass. And it's easy to say things like that. So you're saying that, like, us killing pedophiles, that's no big deal. Overthrowing the friars that control the narrative, that's no big deal. Stop giving money to Israel, all that's no... all these things are just superficial nothing, huh? How come you can't debunk them individually then? If everything is just such nonsense, why would you even be here to begin with for the 85th time? And why can't you just make me look stupid by debunking the nonsense I'm talking about? If you start saying crazy shit, Jesus is real, Jesus is, that's an easy thing to debunk. And I'm going to address that. I'm going to, try to dig deeper into that conversation. I'm not just going to come be, what you're saying isn't right, so nah, I don't like that, nah. You're a clown. It's an entity. No, it's not. It's actually nothing. It's a fantasy. It's a construct. You believe it exists because they tell you it exists, but it doesn't have, like, it doesn't breathe. It doesn't have eyes. It doesn't see. It's not a thing. It's an ever expanding, ever changing thing. But it's bullshit. It's bullshit, and so is Zionism. Zionism is bullshit. The real issue is the Matitza Bapeh pedophile cult. Because you see these, like, I saw this video, another video, where it was a bunch of Hasidiotics, and they were like, Zionism is nationalism, Judaism is a religion, and we oppose Zionism, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, all of you are Matitza Bapeh pedos. Especially if you're actually in Israel, well, then you're probably bottom of darkness, Israel Hayom bottom of darkness pedos. I am much more likely to assume you're a pedo than you're not if you belong to the organization that its main practices are pedophilic. The Jesus story is from ancient Egypt. Rome never fell. See, you guys are talking about stuff that, again, you just, like, literally all of your information is provided to you. And you personally, you don't know any of that shit. You never went to ancient Rome. That person just sat through the light like a dumbass. That was weird. Must have been on your phone, huh? The Jesus story is from ancient Egypt. What the fuck do you know? Right? Oh, go fuck yourself, Brett. Brit, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Yeah, I said it. Stuff you. I don't trust governments. I studied history. Yep. You studied what they wanted you to know. Did you study the history of history books? Did you study the history of history? Do you understand that every aspect of history to be is a lie? There's no point in having the conversation with you, because you're still in this delusional place. If you think that we built insert cathedral, insert year 1436, in the 900s we built this, you're a fucking loony bin. The Roman aqueducts, yeah, we just built those things, all of Rome. The Roman roads, all that shit, yeah. No power tools, no communication networks, none of that shit. We were very, very basic. 2,000 years ago, slapped it right together. Studied the art of war. Oh, what they don't tell you. Oh yeah, I know. You studied what... See, arrogance easily comes in because everybody thinks, no. I got some secrets here. Listen, I have access to information. All right? I went through government.org and I found some breadcrumbs in the breadcrumb factory. Like, you don't realize how much arrogance plays a part in all of it. And people always get mad when I say this thing, which proves the arrogance once again. You only believe what you want to believe. That's it. You might have read some information, looked at some hidden history, and because it made sense to you, because you liked it, you went with it. But, again, it depends on where you are in your journey. If you are at the point of resets, if you believe that there was a reset, like a lot of us do, or some of us do, occurring somewhere in the late 1700s, what we think of as the late 1700s, to as early as like the 1900s, to as early as, the late 18s, early 19s. Who knows when that reset actually took place? But once you accept the idea that there's been a reset, for you to then think any of it's true is pretty foolish. It's arrogant. And I love, you can always prove the arrogance argument with just a simple JFK. 3 letters, JFK, proves exactly what I'm saying about arrogance. Y'all want this? Hi, Turtle Squirtle. Hi, Squirtsy Squirtsy. I'm glad to see you out and about. Oh. I'm not stuck in the cathedral. I study and come to my own conclusions. I am not a sheep. Look at this. Arrogance. Everybody's arrogant, and you don't want to believe it. Never there was. There is no hiding the truth. Time reveals everything. You have to analyze. I mean, you realize, your lifespan is just a blink in the eye. So saying time reveals everything again is... It's just weird, right? it's one of these things that's a really hard thing to do, but you don't realize, like, you're being just like the conservatives, the religious people, the whoever that you hate so much. You're being just like them. You don't realize it. Again, you're saying, I studied this, that, or the other. Well, did you ask who published that book? Did you study who the author was? The publishing aspect is a really big part of it. I don't think a lot of people understand what it takes to publish a book, to get something published. Especially to get something published that, I know you about it. It's one thing if you go to poetry.com and they put you in the book, and then you buy 75 copies so you can give one to all your friends. Show that you're a published author. No, I'm not talking about that. There's something called solicited material. And actually, we watched Airheads the other day, and there was a great example of it. But publishers cannot accept unsolicited material. Unsolicited material is you, average Joe Goyam, trying to present your masterpiece to a publishing agency. They say, no, we won't accept it. Sorry. You need to go get you a literary agent first. So now you have to go find you a friar literary agent, because they are the literary agents. You're very, very rarely are you going to find a non-friar literary agent. And if you do, good luck with that. I wouldn't imagine they have nearly the connections that your average friar has. But once you sign on the literary agent, who, either does or doesn't take an upfront fee, but also gets, 10% or whatever of whatever deal they can make for you. Meaning they basically have to accept you. You present to them and they go, okay, I guess I'll let you pay me. So they're going to look over your work. And as a desperate writer with nothing, who's already been told you can't have unsolicited material and all that, you're desperate. You really want your shit out there. So when they say, hey, you know what? Why don't we change the bad guy in this from an Israeli to an Arab, to an Iranian, because that just makes more sense. You're going to go, man, that's integral to the story. There's a whole bunch of parts that come from that, but I want my shit published. Oh, yeah, whatever you'd like. So first of all, you have to get past the first wall. Now, your literary agent then will take your book to different publishing houses, but each publishing house has their own window of exclusivity. So they have, I think it was 90 days. They have 90 days to decide whether or not they're going to publish your book or not. So the literary agent can only really feasibly present your book to one publishing house at a time. So let's say the publishing house agrees to, okay, we like this book. Now you have the low-level editors, proofreaders, that will go through and make a bunch of check marks and make some notes and changes and whatnot for everything that the publishing house doesn't like. It's not that person personally. It's the publishing house's standards. So any mention of this, any mention of that, any hinting at this, any whatever. Then it goes to the once it gets through the proofreaders, they give you now here, this is the manuscript back, make these changes, and then we'll send it to the editor. Again, you have your integrity or your profits or your dreams. So you make the changes necessary. Now it goes to the main editor, who again reads your shit over. If he or she doesn't like it, then, the changes must be made. And then after finally after all this approval, it's going to go to press. The thing you originally wrote, 99% of the things you read aren't the original manuscript. They've been changed significantly. And when it comes to educational books like textbooks and whatnot, those companies are the companies that are willing to do the most amount of work with the least amount of input for the least amount of money. And for a long time, one of the biggest producers of textbooks and educational materials was actually Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father. So people have arrogantly fooled themselves into thinking that because they read this or they saw this or they researched this or that they're getting some sort of truth. And maybe you are to some degree. You're getting a piece of it. But there's a much bigger picture that needs to be dealt with. And sure, there are a lot of lower level things that also need to be dealt with. But for me in particular, I believe that if we cut off the head of the monster, then the tentacles all die. And the tentacles aren't the thing itself. The tentacles run through the thing. So the United States is not a tentacle. Their control running through the United States is the tentacle. So once we cut off the head, the United States still exists, but it's no longer under their control. Now let's see how I'm wrong. The author is one of the most important things to take note of. Author. History is written by the colonizer, Victor. Yes, history is written by the winners. We all know that. But even more so, history is written by the publishers, by the publishing houses. How many of you know about the linotype machine? The linotype machine is easily one of the greatest inventions of all time, let alone, the 18 to the 1900s. This is a top 3 invention of that time period. And you're going to be like, what? Telephones and phone and cars and all that. You saying this thing rivals that? Yes, this thing is atop that list. This thing is above those things. The linotype machine is why we had newspapers and articles and magazines and books and all that from its invention in the and when was it invented, sweetheart?
1882.
Yeah, give or take. 1880s until, depending on where it is, when it is, the digital age takes over as far as printing goes. But every single newspaper, every single printing agency used a linotype machine or a reasonable facsimile thereof. And these things make no fucking sense to me. I don't understand how they work. They apparently are mini foundries that create metal slugs that then get fed back into the machine and then recast over and over again. Like, it's one of the craziest inventions you've ever heard of, or you've never heard of. It's one of the most important things ever. The inventor was a German clockmaker who was just approached by some businessmen. I mean, the whole narrative, good luck finding the narrative, actually. Good luck. Look it up. Look up the linotype and just see how much you can actually find about its history and its creation. The best is history written, told by the common people. The thing about history is is unchangeable to a degree. But it happened. There's no taking it back. I can't take back anything I've said in this video because I've already said it. Focusing on a past, especially a past that we can't, we don't even know is true. We're given all the details to by the liars. Focusing on the past is just a distraction. We should be focusing on the right now. What is happening right now? Not the manufactured, fantasy future that we could come up with. Not the past we can't do anything about. The right now. And so much of the delusion, so much of the system that keeps us here is about making us feel like we're super smart because we know about the past or because we focus on the past. And, then we sit here and we argue about it. We fight about it. We divide over what we're told the past is. And literally none of us know any of it. Sad to see a superpower under occupation. It's always been under occupation. See, this is what I'm talking about. People say shit like the United States was taken over. When? Where? By whom? When was the United States not taken over? How did they take over the United States? And we didn't know it? We didn't notice it was happening? That'd be stupid. The bus would go right through them. Semis and buses can't stop like that. Spread literacy and knowledge. None of our modern devices would exist without the printing presses. I agree, but history can help with understand what exactly is happening and why. To a degree. I agree with you to a degree. But how many of you know about the Havara Agreement? How many of you know about the Havara Agreement and didn't hear about it from me? I know my wife never heard about the Havara Agreement until I said something. I know I was 46 years old and like a month ago when I first heard about the Havara Agreement. And I come from the generation that every single year in history, we would get a month-long lesson about World War II and how, the Holocaust and all this other bullshit. Every single year, we were inundated with that bullshit. And I never, ever heard about the Havara Agreement. And the Havara Agreement was signed in 1933 between the Zionist Federations, whoever the fuck that is, and Nazi Germany to allow 60,000 plus German friars to move to head on over to Israel, to head on over to Palestine, start colonizing Palestine. From 33 to 39, 60,000 friars moved from Germany to Palestine. 60,000 plus. They were colonizing it long before there was any sort of, we got to pay for what was done to the people by the Germans. The fucking Nazis were the ones that signed the deal. The Havara Agreement is one of the biggest smoking guns in history. Because so much of the way that shit works today, so much of the Semitism that they experience is based on the Holocaust narrative. It's based on this World War II, feel sorry for, they deserve, that whole, Israel's entire existence is based on the Holocaust narrative. So the history that was purposefully hidden from us it totally contradicts that narrative. It completely destroys the narrative we're given, and yet it's not anywhere to be found. You have to look. So, and even then, how do we know any of that's true? Do you know that my entire life in school, I was told repeatedly that George Washington had wooden teeth. George Washington's wooden teeth. Wasn't there like a set of George Washington's wooden teeth at the Smithsonian or some shit? Didn't we hear that?
Something like that, yeah.
Like that they had a set of his wooden teeth? He didn't have wooden teeth. Because that's stupid. You couldn't have wooden teeth. But history is just doesn't matter where you get it from. Doesn't matter what you think. You're getting a manufactured version narrative of it. And especially if the history that you're reading doesn't talk about Tartaria, doesn't talk about resets, doesn't talk about repopulating, doesn't talk about any of that shit, well, then you should ask, what history are you reading? Without insulated copper wire, you wouldn't have any of the modern conveniences. This government insists on dancing with the devil. Ooh, the devil. Why do you think we have Christopher Columbus Day? Manufacture a narrative. To keep us believing stupid bullshit that doesn't make any sense. Where did all the bodies go? If Columbus in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Remember that play you had to do in elementary school? They say that when white man invaded the United States, there were 100 million natives. 100 million plus natives in the Americas, top to bottom. 100 million people. All of those people, not all of them, a lot of those people had more babies. While also white people came here and started having babies. And then supposedly brought in millions of black people and made them have babies. We're talking about billions and billions, maybe even trillions of people that have supposedly been in the United States since Columbus first set sail. Where are all those bodies? You know, they supposedly find burial sites of King Tut and ancient burial sites all over the place of that defy the historical narrative and all this other shit. So to think that in the last few hundred years those bodies would have disappeared, where'd they go? Billions and billions of people. That, which would mean trillions of teeth. Every person has 32 adult teeth and I don't remember 20 something, 26 child teeth. The reason you got to pull the teeth out before you feed them to the pigs is because teeth are really hard to digest. Teeth don't go anywhere. Meaning, you should find teeth all the time. Have you ever been digging outside, playing in the ground, playing with a kid, playing in the garden, whatever it is, and found a human tooth? No. Where'd they all go? What between the Nazis and the Zionists, the machine, and people call anyone who knows this and AMS about it anti-Semitic. Well, I love when people call me anti-Semitic because that shows me how stupid they are. Semitic, the only people in this narrative that are Semitic are the Palestinians, the Lebanese, the Yemeni, the Iranians. These are all Semitic people. They're from that region. Recent studies have come out saying 95% of Israelis don't have Semitic blood. They come from Ukraine. They come from Russia. They come from the United States. They come from Poland and Europe. And, that's where they come from. what they do, and it's interesting because they don't say anti-Jewish. Notice how they don't call people anti-Jewish, or they'll say anti-Jewish and anti-Semitism. They'll combine them. Why is there a separate word? Do you ever question that? You ever look up what Semitism means? It's actually pretty easy to understand when you think about it. Semitism is policy or predisposition favorable to Jews. Policy, rules and regulations, predisposition. If your mom's family all has cancer, you're predisposed. You have a predisposition to cancer. So saying policy, rules and regulations and predisposition favorable to Jews, that's pretty fucking, that's pretty intense. That's pretty incredible. Why should anyone have favor just because they are something? It's actually just supremacy, just worded nicely.
I mean,
Policy
it's the
or
same thing
predisposition.
as being discriminated against because you were born brown. Like, you cannot help what you look like.
Well, no, it's totally different, actually, because what you're born like is one thing. Judaism is a choice. We aren't talking about the way people are born.
Into that family, though.
You absolutely can. You can say, look, I'm not going to be a part of this. I hope my family still accepts me as a person, but I don't believe in this cult. I am not a part of this cult.
What age do you think that happens at, though? Really?
I can only speak from personal experience, and from personal experience, it's as early as I can remember. I wanted nothing to do with anything, and I was the bad guy.
With your family?
Huh?
Were you vocal about it with your family?
Of course. Of course. It never made any sense to me. And I was the bad guy for asking questions. I was the bad guy for not just accepting it. You know, and you also have to remember, I was an American. As an American in the early 80s, you know, early 80s, early 90s, we were still very, very Christian everywhere. And there wasn't any options. There wasn't Islam. You know, this wasn't something that you heard about very often, or if you did, it was because it was the black Muslims, the scary black Muslims. There was no gay. There was no, racism was very, very prevalent. It was the way things were. Like, the Dukes of Hazzard were on TV, and they rode around with a Confederate flag on the top of their car. Like, this is when I grew up, you be a Christian. And I grew up in a Project Paperclip family that was all about assimilation. Assimilate. We didn't grow up eating German food. We grew up eating American food. This is it's all just narrative. It's all just bullshit that's given to us one way or another, but it's all bullshit. And so it's important that you distinguish the fact that they don't say anti-Jewish, they say anti-Semitism. Meaning, and Semitism again is supremacy. Policy or predisposition favorable to your group is absolute supremacy. When the laws, the rules, the regulations, and the predisposition, whatever the fuck that even means, is favorable to you, meaning in any situation you go into, if people find out you're you, then you automatically get favor over the other person. That is supremacy. There's no other way around that. That's supremacy. So when they say anti-Semitism, they're saying you are opposed to their supremacy. That's why they call it out all the time. If you speak out and you say stuff that they don't like, well, that goes against their supremacy. in their supreme position, they feel like they should be able to do whatever they want, and us dumb goyim should shut the fuck up about it. So when they say that's anti-Semitism, you don't say no, it's not. No. Say yeah, it is. It proudly is. I'm proudly against supremacy. I welcome you to drop your supremacist bullshit and us live together in harmony and everything work out where nobody is chosen and all this other bullshit. And everyone is held accountable. But if you don't want to do that, get your ass over to Israel. I heard they were aware of the Pearl Harbor attack in advance and let it happen. Is that true? That's what they say. I mean, do I know that's true? I know that's true on multiple levels. One, I know it's true because it happened. If it happened, it's because it was orchestrated. I know it's true because there's fucking live footage of it. Back when cameras weren't just in your hands, they were like these big telephone booths that you would carry around. There's lots of things pointing to it. Plus, there's the notion that they broke the code prior to, and I mean, you can't have these little Japanese kamikaze jets, planes, propeller planes, flying from Japan to Hawaii. They didn't have the fuel capacity to do so. So they had to be aboard some sort of ship. And if the ship is out in the waters anywhere, then we would have known about it. Like, it's all just dumb. It's all just dumb. And we're talking about, 1947, right? Am I right on that? December 7th, 1940. I can't even remember this shit anymore. I'm so full of dates. Stories. Pearl Harbor. December 7th, 1941. My bad. When we're talking about 41, I don't believe in 1941 like you do. And I know that's a weird thing to say. But until I can get somebody that can explain to me the Pentagon being built from September 11th, 1941 to January of 1943, 14 months for construction, 15 months, 14 and a half months if you include the planning for it. Planning, site prep, getting all the permits and all that shit. Yeah, that adds maybe 2 weeks. all 7 floors, 5 above ground, 2 below, were dug out and constructed in 14 months in 1941. Clearly, we are not given the truth about 1941. Did you know that the September 11th attacks were the 60th, not the 59th, not the 61st, the 60th anniversary of the construction of the Pentagon? The beginning of the construction? It's just dumb. If you had to go pick a country to be living in, which one would you choose? I have no fucking idea. I don't live in fantasy world. That's not a viable option.
I was told that Ecuador is
Ecuador.
actually one of the most amazing places to live because of climate.
All over the world is amazing.
Education.
You've just been fed your America first bullshit your whole life.
Right.
America's the best. No, it's fucking not.
I talked to a guy that lives in Ecuador. He's from America. He's lived all over the world. He goes to different countries and he sets homesteads up for people and, shows them how to live sustainably.
Sounds like I might be getting divorced soon.
So he ended up in Ecuador.
It's pronounced Ecuador.
Help a family get their home.
Ecuador.
He ended up buying property there and he's been there for like 8 years now. and he's like, I'll never live in another country again. And he listed like all the things about Ecuador, comparing it to countries from around the world, and wow, was it a good sell.
You ever notice if you talk to somebody from Ecuador, like they'll be speaking all normally, and they'll be like, "Yeah, my family we have a big family, and I have a lot of cousins and sisters and brothers and shit. My parents have been here. Yeah, we're from Ecuador." It always just comes Ecuador. It's fucking silly.
Yeah, he's a hippie dude. He doesn't talk like that.
Well, he's not Ecuadorian.
No, he's definitely white.
What do you mean you can't have wooden teeth? Pretty sure they made denture type teeth from wood. Okay. If you want to believe that, you go right ahead. Why don't you go outside, find a piece of wood, and put it in your mouth for a day? See how well that works out. You know how nasty wooden teeth would be? Especially once you like grind a bunch of food into all the little crannies and crevices. Oh, can you imagine how bad wooden teeth breath would have to be? Oh my lord. All the dead animal that gets stuffed like into the little cracks in the wood and into the little crevices. And it just rots and ferments and ugh. The first evidence of a lathe is from ancient Egypt around 1300 BC, where a simple two-person lathe was used to shape wood. Dude, there are bricks that are supposedly from 5000 BC and shit. Get the fuck out of here. When you start talking about minus years, I just can help but laugh at you at this point. I know you have no idea why it's 2025. Why it's the year you think it is. Ecuador. Friars, F-R-E-I-E-R-S. They placed them everywhere in World War II. Do you know who invented the word? What word? I'm way behind in the comments. They're the chosen ones. What arrogance? Exactly. It's insane. Being friar is considered an ethnicity. Pretty sure you can't change that. It's not considered an ethnicity. You know how you know that? Sammy Davis Jr. End of argument. Oh, you want another one? Nell Carter. End of argument. You cannot convert your race. I can't just be like, you know what, you guys? I'm going to start doing this. And I'm going to talk a regadia. It's a really stereotypical, awful way of talking. But I'm a Chinese now. You guys have to understand that I'm a Chinese now. I hate doing this. I really hate this impression. It's so racist and awful. But if I were to do that and say, all right, you guys have to call me Chinese. I converted to Chinese. Who do you think would be like, okay, he's Chinese now? That big ugly half, he's Chinese now. Would any of you respect my wishes? I mean, it's so dumb. You can definitely disown your ancestors, but still, no. There definitely is a look to a certain group of them. That does not mean they are a race. Because not all of them have that look. Can I see your phone today? Or for a second? Look at this fucking idiot. This guy?
It's not all of them. Because what about the 17,000 children?
He doesn't, you wouldn't think that guy. You'd think he was Mexican or some shit.
Who's responsible for it?
In his Guy Fawkes costume, looking like an idiot.
Hamas is responsible for hiding in hospitals and making tunnels underneath
So
those
when
hospitals.
children are shot in the head by Israeli snipers,
Israeli snipers aren't responsible for that?
Look,
It's a simple question.
Here's the
When
problem.
Israeli snipers shoot Palestinian children in Gaza in the head, as eyewitness testimony and doctors' testimony proves, that's not the fault of the Israeli snipers.
This is the problem, because when you have a
The problem is you won't
when
answer the question. I'll ask you a
when-
third time. When Israeli snipers shoot Palestinian children in the head, is that not the fault of Israeli snipers?
Well, you gotta let me finish.
No, you got to answer the question. Fourth time.
Well,
when Israeli
I will
snipers
get to
shoot
your answer.
Palestinian children in the
I
head,
will get to your
we're running out
answer.
of time. I need to
Well,
know what you think about innocent children.
because I will
what
get
you
to-
said was pretty outrageous. You said
I will
so-called
get to your answer.
innocent Palestinians. For the fifth time, when Palestinian children are shot in the head by Israeli snipers, is that not the fault of Israeli
what did those
snipers?
children do?
What did
What
they
did
tell
those
me?
children
The children
do?
deserve to be shot in the
Because
head.
the problem is,
You know
over there,
millions of people are watching you
they
say
start
justifying the
brainwashing
killing of
children. They start brainwashing children at a very young age.
They do,
young
not-
age.
not-
You support
Not the
sniping
friars who
children in
rape their
Gaza.
children.
Look,
Do other people here support sniping children in Gaza? Is that a conservative position now?
What if they're wearing a suicide vest?
They weren't.
But what if they are?
They're not, though.
Well, what
Dozens
if
of
they
children.
are?
I have friends who went
What-
there. Doctors went to
what
Gaza.
if-
American doctors. They came back as we had multiple children.
What if
with
they're hell
gunshot
bent?
shots.
What if they're hell
What if
bent
they're
on
not?
killing you and your family?
A 10-year-old child, an 8-year-old child, a 6-year-old
It's
child.
so crazy how
Because
This is
like
bad
you
for
said,
you.
like you
You're
said,
seeing on
they're
live
brainwashing
television,
They're
where millions of people are going to see your neighbors, your
because
friends. that you
millions of
support
people,
the killing of
millions
children.
of people don't know what's going on.
Even your fellow right-wingers are saying, "Don't go this far."
So you've been making movies.
Palestine, you don't think Palestinians are innocent?
Not all of them.
so the insanity in all of that, where they make these claims when they're the ones that do it. It's like they make all these. Well, what if somebody comes into your country and starts dropping bombs on you and killing people and starving you? We can't have that happen. That's an atrocity if it's done to us. But you're doing that to other people. Yeah, it's their fault. Now you have to worry about offending everyone. You don't have to. The richest runscape group, probably. I had called him a friar in his own house and went home. Oh, look, we have Gary, a pedophile, flying the pedophile flag with his Yisrael Chai bullshit. What a piece of shit. He's a pedophile. Guy is a self-hating Jew. Look at him. He looks very Jewish. Yes, check that out. You see how Jewish I look? I've said this time and time again, and this is the same argument that these dumb asses make all the time. Like, this is, if you open up the books on Israel, you demonize Israel kind of stupid, right? If I was Jewish, if my family was Jewish, and I escaped that cult, and I was this person today, having been raised in that cult, do you know how much stronger my argument would be? Like, why would I deny it? Why wouldn't I be proud of the fact that I escaped the cult and now I'm speaking out against it? Why would I hide that from anybody? That just doesn't, it's such a, like, it's such a desperate argument, right? But this is what they have. This is what these pedos have. They don't have anything else to say because they can't defend their own shit. Wow, I'm way behind. Oh, I guess not. Yeah, they create a wind danger. Dude, you're so stupid. He didn't have wooden teeth. That's the thing. You guys are arguing like it's possible. He didn't have them according to the narrative. That's just what all the teachers told us for years. You can convert your gender, but not your race. Yes. You can convert your gender, but not your race. How do you convert your race? How does a white person become a black person?
Well, Michael Jackson did it.
Michael Jackson had the disease. If Michael Jackson was actually doing something to make that happen, other people would do it. It would be a thing. Clearly, whatever we saw as Michael Jackson was something else. But I mean, it's so funny to me how how insecure white people, and black people too, but mainly insecure white people, get so upset about that guy's living his life. He's not concerned about what I think is right. I don't think it's right that guys wear dresses and he's out there wearing a dress. How come he doesn't care about my opinion? It's so silly to me how stupid you guys are, and that you are distracted by adults wanting to live their lives, not hurting anybody, ignoring the fact that the group that you belong to is constantly raping children. You know, you see these people protesting against gay stuff. Yet, like Kenny Bartholomew. Kenny Bartholomew is a fucking moron. If you know who he is, tell him I said so. He's a coward and a moron. Because him and I were actually like thinking about working together and all this other shit. We were really close. And I'd known Kenny for years prior to. And I heard bad stuff about Kenny, but I can't say it's true or not, so I won't repeat it. But just know I've heard bad things about Kenny. But he one day, out of the blue, he posts this video where him and a group of other people were in Denver at a comic book store that was doing a drag show for kids who felt trans. And so they set up a little runway, a little stage, and they were going to let the kids walk down the runway and strut their stuff. There was nothing naked about it. There was nothing gross about it. It was just kids who, like, you know, don't play football, who don't like that stuff, who like playing dress up and shit like that. Like, I could have never gotten my kids at a young age to do a drag show. If I would have been like, hey, come here, let me put you in this dress, they would have fought me tooth and nail. If I would have given them dolls, they would have hit stuff with the dolls. They used to grab sticks and hit stuff with sticks. That's what they did. They were boys. And so if I had a trans kid who, believe me, you know your kid's going to be trans before they break it to you that, hey, I want to do a drag show. But if I had a trans kid who was ostracized from everywhere and everything they did, and this local event offered them a chance to do what they see on TV, again, without it being nasty and weird, with all the parents there, I would take my kid to that and let them be who they are. I'm not going to smack my kid and be like, go play football. That's how you create psychopaths. But Kenny and a couple of his friends showed up to the thing wearing scary-ass Guy Fawkes masks. If you think about it from a little kid's perspective, the Guy Fawkes mask is a scary thing. Especially when you have a bunch of, you know, I don't want to say tall, but 5 foot something, maybe 6 foot something men in these masks yelling horrible shit at you from across the way. Horrible shit at you and your parents. And Kenny made a video of it. And he posted the video of him yelling at these parents and yelling at these kids these horrible things. And he was all excited and he sent it to me. And I watched it. And I was like, you know, and of all the videos he's ever done, this one, of course, has the most views. Like, this one's virtually going viral. And if you look at the comments, it's just a bunch of fucking white guys, you know, who are seemingly quiet about everything else. But they're mad about this. And so I said to Kenny, like, hey, man, I don't think you come across in this video like you think you come across. I think you kind of look like a piece of shit. And he was like, no, man, there's the transgender agenda and all this other shit. And I was like, you know what? Let's stop. How about tomorrow, tomorrow morning when I go live, I bring you on as the guest, and we have this conversation in an organic fashion. I don't want to have the conversation now and then have to fake our way through it a second time. And he was like, bet, that sounds good, man. Let's do that. And again, we were friends at the time, so I didn't think anything of it. Next day rolls around. I can see from his messenger that he's active now. And so I go live and I send him the invite and I'm like, all right, man, let's do this. Let's have this debate here. You say there's a transgender agenda, gay this, gay that. I say you're a fucking moron. In a, playful nature. Again, he was my friend. Let's have this out. I want you to convince me that there is, in fact, a transgender agenda. And so I wait. And he never shows up. And I send him a message. Like, hey, dude, I'm live. Where are you, bud? Thought you were coming through. Thought we were having this conversation here today. I thought you were going to show me about the transgender agenda. And he's got nothing. He doesn't respond. He then posts a video that is in Venezuela, I believe, somewhere. And it's a younger looking man. Now, you don't know how old this guy is. This guy could be a lot older than you think he is and just look really fucking young. You never know. But this guy is in some Daisy Dukes. And it's maybe a 15-second clip. And he's dancing. And he looks like he's on drugs. Now, if this is a child, yeah, it's horrible. But it wasn't like the original poster was like, hey, look at this kid, this is wrong. So you technically don't know if this is a child or not. This could be an Angela. This could be a guy. At 21, 22 years old, clean shaven, I could easily pass for 18. And Venezuela is different. They have different laws and they have different standards and, not saying any of it's correct, but it's definitely different. What flies here or what flies there doesn't fly in the opposite. And that's a bigger issue than just this simple conversation can or this than just this conversation addresses. Sorry, my bowl's all clogged up. My bowl's clogged up the very next day. My bowl's clogged up. I thought it was clear, but my bowl's clogged up. God damn it. God damn it, Bobby. Shit. I don't want to touch it with my potty hands.
Oh, that's just the school calendar.
Oh, okay. And so I point these things out again. Dude, you don't know what the context of this video is.
Really?
You're coming across as this huge homophobe. You're coming across as this huge transphobe. And honestly, if you knew Kenny, you'd think there's a little sugar in that tank. So it's really interesting to see this. And so immediately, of course, I'm attacked by the white people that are mad at me for pointing out truth. And I comment on that video like, what the fuck, man? Where'd you go? I thought you were coming to tell me all about this. Why'd you chicken out? And Kenny, being the big badass that he is, blocks me. And interestingly, there are multiple times after the fact where I'm going live from my wife's phone instead of mine. And Kenny still, I guess, got the notification that TBG page was live. So he would pop into the feed every once in a while. And I'd notice and I'd be like, oh, there's Kenny. Hey, Kenny, what happened? Why don't you talk to me about this transgender agenda shit? Nope. Nothing. So he must be right, right? He's right, and he's confident that he's right, which is why he's avoiding the situation at all costs. I'm the one that's wrong. I'm the one that's the bad guy. And me and Kenny got along on lots of things. This happened maybe 18, 19, maybe 18, probably 17 or 18. So this was prior to COVID, and we were both on the same page with the earth not being round, and Israel's the bad guy, and it was cool. It was like I met somebody that I knew, but I re-met them as adults, and hey, we happen to be on the same. Actually, he found me. Like I tell you, I used to be a lot bigger. I was allowed to be a lot bigger back when especially when I was talking about chemtrails. Because Kenny found my video one day. He stumbled across my video on a page one day and was like, oh shit, I know that guy, and reached out. That's how we reconnected after all the years. And I've put this out here many, many, many times. If you think gay is bad, trans is bad, whatever it is, let's talk about it. Why aren't you confident enough to have a conversation about the thing? Yet you believe it. Yet not only do you believe it, it makes you this ugly person who does things that you normally wouldn't do, says things that you normally wouldn't say about people, discriminates against people when you normally aren't like that. What is affecting you so tremendously about two guys fucking in the house next door? I just don't understand. And I have the same perspective. I have the same yearning for understanding. And I have the same opposition in every category. Where I'm supposedly going against the narrative, the established narrative, the volumes of information to back up narrative. And I can't find any, intelligent opposition. Don't you think it's strange? I'll look something up here. October 11th. That didn't work out. That was weird. October. October 11th, 2001. Bombing. Mexico. Wiki. Let's see if there's a wiki. Wiki. Nope. That's gives me the September 11th attacks. Alright, so let's go. We'll take the wiki out and we'll just see what it says. The global war on terrorism, the first 100 days. That's not what I'm looking for. 22 years after the October. Why is it saying... What the fuck? No, it's not popping up at all. October 10th, my bad. Maybe that's why. 10th, 2001. All right, this does have a wiki. The Legislative Palace of San Lazaro is the main seat of the legislative power of the Mexican government, being the permanent meeting place of the Chamber of Deputies. Wait, this isn't what I was looking for here. I didn't care. I wasn't looking for it. The Wikipedia says on October, like if you look it up from this section, it says on October 10th, 2001, 2 Israelis, one of them a dual citizen of Mexico, were arrested and reportedly acting in a strange manner and failing to properly. So then you click on it, and this story does history. Let's look up at the history of it. Must be. Okay, on October 10, 2001, 2 Israelis, one of them a dual citizen of Mexico, were arrested after reportedly acting in a strange manner and failing to properly identify themselves when requested. They were later found to be carrying false Pakistani passports, firearms, and as well as explosives, and identified as former members of the Israeli Special Forces. The men were then released after mediation from Israeli authorities. Oh! After the Israeli authorities stepped in, the men were released. And that's all I get. That's really interesting. All right, so let's see if we can find it. Here's the Reddit page. I don't necessarily want Reddit. Voices of America English News. 3 bombs explode overnight in Mexico City. Mexican President Vicente Fox called a special meeting of his security advisors on Thursday following 3 overnight bomb explosions in Mexico City, attributed to a shadowy insurgent group. Authorities are not certain who set the bombs or why. What? Last updated on October 27, 2009. In his meeting with the cabinet members and security advisors, President Fox called for a complete investigation of the group claiming responsibility for the bombings, the People's Revolutionary Armed Forces, or FARP. Anonymous callers claimed to represent the insurgent group called Mexican news media offices to say they had placed the homemade explosive devices at several locations around the city, but authorities say it is difficult to determine if the bombings really were carried out by FARP or by some other group. I mean, so I'm going to look up FARP, but to think that they would do this thing and then call and be like, hey, we did it. We're from FARP. We're not Israeli. Just in case anybody says something. Attorney General Rafael Macedo, I don't know, de la Concha, says his offices will be investigating the issue thoroughly. He said investigators will be analyzing the information they obtain about the bombings, and that it is already known that the FARP has cells in the city as well as in some nearby states. The Mexican Authority General says he hopes the Mexico City Prosecutor's Office will hand the case over to federal authorities so that they may do a more complex investigation of the case. The federal authorities don't have the power to be like, we're taking over. The 3 explosions all occurred at branch banks belonging to the Banamex chain, which were recently purchased by the Citigroup Banking Corporation. The small bombs did no more than break windows at the banks. 2 other devices were found by police and safely disarmed. The bombings occurred several hours after farm workers had staged mass demonstration in Mexico City to protest the Fox government's agricultural policies. The FARP is one of several small guerrilla groups that have emerged in Mexico in recent years. Masked men claiming to be part of an insurgency staged a brief takeover of a town square in Mexico City on December 1st of last year. The day Mr. Fox was inaugurated president, I'd already say the bombings may have been a way to gain attention and appear on. I don't know that. Israel's not the issue. Pass it on. This is the Los Angeles Times from October 10th. As U.S. and British forces readied for battle Sunday, President Bush telephoned a handful of world leaders to give them a warning. Prominent among them, Israel. Why? The answer should be clear, given the democratic values we share and the common enemies we face. Based on its size and population, no country has suffered more from the same sort of terrorism that hit the World Trade Center and the Pentagon than Israel. Oh my goodness. By the way, this is Robert Statloff. To some, however, Israel is just reaping what it sowed. In Arab and Muslim capitals, political and religious leaders daily intone on the distinction between terrorism, which they condemn, and legitimate resistance to occupation, a catch-all phrase that lumps together teenage rock throwers, dynamite-laden suicide bombers, and Katyusha-lobbing guerrillas operating from Lebanon. Man, this sounds familiar. Remember, this is from October 10th, 2001. Remarkably, a more politically correct variant of this argument has some adherents in Washington. Last week, the State Department's official spokesman actually said that terrorism against Americans and terrorism against Israelis are two different things. They literally are. The former said concerns, quote, violent people trying to destroy societies, where the latter revolves around political issues that need to be addressed. He actually said that. From that skewed logic comes the contrast of U.S. diplomacy performing an exemplary job of forging an international coalition against the perpetrators of the September 11th attacks while ceding vital ground in the war against terror in the Arab-Israeli arena. A case in point is Syria. On September 28th, the United Nations Security Council approved a resolution empowering the international community to take, quote, all necessary steps against terrorist groups and those states that support them, except Israel. Not Israel, though. Syria, a charter member of the State Department's list of state sponsors of terrorism, hosts more officially designated terrorist groups than any other country in the world and, according to the U.S. government documents, violates virtually every paragraph of the new Security Council resolution. Yeah, that sounds like Syria. Nevertheless, on Monday, one day after Bush promised an anti-terrorist campaign against, quote, any government that sponsors the outlaws and killers of innocents, the United States raised not a single word of protest as the UN General Assembly voted to let Syria sit on the Security Council, a body empowered with enforcing the UN's anti-terror efforts. God, this is fucking dumb. I don't even want to keep reading it. It's just so fucking dumb. But it shows you, I mean, this is the same rhetoric being used today. The ignominy of inaction on Syria's UN candidacy is the clearest, but not the sole example of U.S. diplomats refusing to implement what may eventually be known as the Bush Doctrine. The Bush Doctrine. In recent weeks, the State Department has urged Congress not to tighten legislation designed to pressure Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat to rein in terrorist groups operating in territory he controls, and signaled a willingness to work more closely with Iran, the principal patron of Hezbollah, the terrorist group that, prior to September 11th, had killed more Americans than any other. I mean, this is just, if you don't hear propaganda, I don't know what it is. Like, it's so fucking stupid. If most Americans knew about such inside the Beltway shenanigans, they would be aghast. After all, large majorities tell pollsters they support Israel, oppose reducing ties with Israel to lower the threat of terrorism, and doubt whether making Israel pay a diplomatic price would in any way diminish the threat of terrorist attacks against the United States. What? That is because most Americans have the common sense to know that Israel is not the sole or even the leading in motivation for bin Laden and his ilk, despite its status as a free market democracy in a region that knows too little of both. Oh, yes. Wow. Wow, this is crazy. According to a just published Newsweek poll, more Americans view, quote, the U.S. military and economic power in general as more powerful rationale for anti-U.S. terrorism than U.S. support for Israel. More Americans view the, quote, U.S. military and economic power in general as a more powerful rationale for U.S. anti-terrorism than U.S. support for Israel. That don't make no sense. And they are right. In this video message broadcast Sunday, bin Laden may have identified his cause with Palestine, but that is a recent and almost surely opportunistic phenomenon. Oh, that's what it is. Traditionally, Israel has been just one of many members of bin Laden's pantheon of evils, alongside India for its role in Kashmir, Russia for its suppression of the Chechens, and the Serbs for atrocities against Bosnian Muslims. Like, for legitimate reasons is what it's saying. Those are all legitimate reasons. Of much greater importance to bin Laden have been the goals of evicting Americans from the Arabian Peninsula and overthrowing pro-Western regimes in Egypt and Saudi Arabia. In the fight against terrorism as the fight for peace, most Americans know that Israel is part of the solution, not part of the problem. Bush's telephone call to the Israeli Prime Minister Sunday reflected that basic reality. Let's hope the rest of his administration was listening. That is insane. The article is called Israel's Not the Issue, Pass It On. And it was the LA Times. That's LinkedIn, can't do it. Here's a story about it. It's called Bomba en San Lazaro. Everyone over the age of 10 at the time certainly remembers where they were when they first heard about that time when a pair of Mossad agents were caught red-handed snooping around the Mexican Congress building, carrying guns, explosives, hand grenades, and Pakistani passports. One would have to have been in a coma to have missed the 24/7 wall-to-wall flood the zone news coverage of this peculiar and shocking foiled attack planned for just 1 month after 9/11. Yeah, for sure. You guys remember that, right? For those of you taking everything literally, that description is sarcastic. The event was real, of course, but the news coverage of it was positively USS Liberty-esque, meaning a total blackout in the United States. CNN did run a brief banner headline about the foiled terror plot of unknown origin and very short legs even in Mexico. Let's fire up the time machine for today's lesson in Zionist false flag terror and the astounding capabilities of Zionist censorship which enable it internationally. Again, the problem, this is believing that Zionism is the bad guy. It's not, just so everybody can hear me, I'm not saying Zionism is the bad guy. The following, okay, number one, no one must know that we screwed up in Mexico, Congress building in Mexico. The following summary is based upon data obtained from the limited early reporting of the Diario de Mexico newspaper and the subsequent independent investigative journalism of Crónicas del Levante and La Voz de Etzlen. On October 10th, 1 month after the Israeli engineered false flag attacks of 9/11, two Mossad agents, Sar Noam Ben Zivi, an Israeli, and Salvador Gresson Schmeck, a Mexican Israeli, were caught with weapons, explosives, and detonators in San Lazaro, the Mexican legislative palace. Also in their possession were Pakistani passports for the frame-up. The suspicious duo were surprised and apprehended by a group of sugar unionists present at the Chamber of Deputies and then handed over to authorities. The head of Congressional Security, Salvador verified that the Israelis were carrying automatic weapons, grenades, cables, explosives, and detonators. They were referred to the PGR. Immediately, top-level Israeli diplomats were sent to Mexico by Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon. An emergency, closed-door meeting involving then-Mexican Foreign Minister Jorge Castaneda Gutman, a Zionist friar. The Mexican Foreign Minister was a friar, and you don't think anything of that, huh? General Macedo de la Concha, with ties to the Zionist-run U.S. Pentagon, several unnamed Israeli envoys, Elias Loof of the Israeli embassy, and Israeli spokesperson Hilla Engelhardt. Following this meeting, the two Israelis were released and the press went silent. The following month, the infamous dancing Israelis of New York, New Jersey were quietly released after 40 days captivity. What bizarre power did these people have over high officials? Despite the severity of the Mexican Congress intrusion and its terroristic implications, there was not a single consequence. This proved that the Zionist entity that had the ability to manipulate even the highest levels of the government of Mexico, an overwhelmingly Catholic nation, which today has a Jewish president. And it's true, like when you think about it that way. Mexico is overwhelmingly Catholic for some crazy ass reason. It seriously is such. It's like black people that are Christian Catholics here in the United States. But Mexico in itself is even worse because it's like you're your own country. You're your own people. You know that you have a history that dates way, way further. You know the Incas and the Mayans and all this. You know about the great arc. You know that you had a different fucking belief structure until until Cortez came. And because you guys were programmed that if a white man ever comes sailing in from the east to swim out to the boats and take them gifts, that's what you did. But how is Catholicism still such a powerful force in Mexico? It just doesn't make any sense. And of course, this overwhelmingly Catholic nation has a Jewish president. Isn't that strange? What would be the motive for such a treacherous attack? Perhaps to involve oil-rich Mexico much deeper into the United States coming war on terror, an effort which would necessitate weaning the U.S. away from Saudi and Egyptian oil, as those OPEC nations too would ultimately be targeted by the Greater Israel Project. What the fuck? When was this written? It doesn't show when this was written. At least not at the top. By the way, in 2012, Salvador Gershon was again arrested along with Israelis Alberto Shimara Leon and Eli Shatark Ilan for installing espionage equipment in Querétaro. They were released after paying bail. Surprise, surprise. Schmeck's name would later surface in declassified CIA documents as being part of a research group on the 9/11 attacks. And now you know. Please share. Wow. That's fucking crazy, guys. Like, seriously, that's crazy shit. That's fucking nuts, man. Don't you guys think something's wrong here? Lindsey Kirk. On this show, they're talking about Lindsey Kirk. That's just the name I just heard. God, that's so fucking weird, man. It's so, like, it wouldn't be what it is if when you looked it up, even half the time, it was like, oh, I guess I was wrong. No friars involved. But the truth is, it's 90% of the time. Plus. You look something up, you might not even think there's friar involvement. Like I'm telling you, the gaslighting thing was so just, it's shocking, but it's not surprising, right? When you read into the history of gas lighting, you find out that supposedly the Chinese were running pipes made of bamboo underground and running both gas to light and heat homes and brine for whatever reason, I don't know. But Europeans didn't figure this out until the 1800s, when suddenly this rabbi, this Jewish guy, like takes it over. The technology sort of just appears. There's no real narrative on how we actually got to this point where, you're collecting gas to begin with, storing it, and then facilitating pipes being plugged into it and then run throughout the city to be, in front of everyone's home and light the darkness. Like, this is such an overwhelming thing that we don't have it today. I still have a gas light in front of our house, so this technology was still there in the 40s when the house was built. But to think about it for what it truly is, to run gas lines underneath the entire city and then just produce it, to produce the gas that was then contained and then sent through at a constant pressure when, like, regulators weren't even invented until the 19-somethings. The whole thing is crazy, but to find out that this Jewish guy sort of figures things out and then corners the market, monopolizes it, takes over Europe, and subsequently hooks up with the Rothschilds marries into the Rothschild family, and now they monopolize and they provide it for all of Europe. He takes over a small part of Europe, but then, like, this was completely unexpected. Foolishly, I guess, but completely unexpected. I highly suggest you look into the gas lighting narrative. Maybe I'll do that again tomorrow because it was such an interesting read the first time. Because at this point, I'm just done. I'm exhausted. So, and I'm tired of talking to no one. If I was talking to people, it'd be different, but talking to no one is boring. Supposedly, there's 5 people watching, and not one of them has an opinion on any of this. Other than, you're stupid, I'll stand for an opinion. or the comment section got shut off a long time ago. And at this point, I don't even know anymore. When the numbers are so low, you could never tell. When the numbers are higher, then the comment section just rolls. But sometimes it just stalls out. And I assume that the comment section shut off only to be proven wrong by some random dumb comment that comes through. But maybe it did get shut off this time, and I just didn't acknowledge it. I saw it a long time ago. Peter's last comment saying where, and Peter doesn't shut up, so Peter would continuously be posting if he was here, right? I assume that. Maybe that's just what's happened. The comment section got shut off. Snoise said, "That's your own logic." And then Peter said where. That's the last thing I can see. Anyway. Boring, right? It's just fucking boring. I don't do this to hear myself talk. I do this to work through shit, but I do this to learn. I want to learn. I want to hear from other people. So go check out the links in the description. Go grab your free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. Proud veteran. I served my country. You served Israel. And you did horrible shit. It sucks. I feel so bad for you. You have to lie to yourself and do this I served my country shit to feel better. I get it. But it's horrible. Anyway. Definitely go watch Hollywoodism, the most important film ever made. Definitely 100% go read Israel, Hayom, Bottom of Darkness. Those 2 things combined explain everything if you allow it to. If you're completely open and you just let the information tell you the story. Don't go into it with the preconceived notions. Just let the information tell you the story. It'll explain it all to you. And then there's a whole bunch of other receipts in the description along with a few links to the videos. Go check that shit out on Facebook. Have yourself a great day. And most importantly, pedophiles, kill yourself.